The next step is to identify barriers to adoption as well as enablers. And let me talk about barriers first. I think that that's more natural for us to consider. We're used to thinking of negative resistance to change. Barriers can be systemic, such as there not being any people in SharePoint support positions, or even not having support positions defined on an org chart. Or they could be temporary, such as there being competing priorities, and maybe there are people who are working on other projects who you'd really like to pry loose to participate on your project, and that it is those people who would help make it a success. Now think of enablers, and this is something that, again, I don't think people consider much, but these could be just as powerful in terms of achieving success. And the example I'm going to use is this first one here that talks about a senior leader having had success with SharePoint. I was in a project team where one of the senior leaders had come from another part of the organization, and he had had a really good experience using SharePoint with his group, and he wanted to replicate that success. And so when we learned of that, we thought about, okay, how might we take advantage of that to help influence others and improve our adoption? And that leads me to the next technique, which is quantifying and managing those barriers and enablers. You may recognize this. This is an example of where change management and project management intersect and work together to get that extra boost in business value. The chart you're seeing here is the same as is used in risk identification and measurement and quantification. But here what I've done is I've built on this question of, or this situation where we've got somebody who had previous success in SharePoint, and I just asked a few questions. So what might the impact be if we ask this person to describe his experience to others? And what specifically could we do to actually encourage him to do that? And then how valuable is focusing on that relative to either managing other risks or cultivating other opportunities, so that we know where to put our resources when we're starting the influence phase of the project, which is throughout the entire project. So applying a little bit more effort and rigor to this statement that up until now sounded very intangible. It sounds very intangible to say, hey, I used SharePoint before and it was cool. Oh, how can we, let's dig into that and see if and how we can use that. And now this becomes something tangible. And the actions that are listed here are things that you can convert into tasks on a work plan with timing and an assigned to person. And so you can be really deliberate about moving the adoption along rather than just saying, generally speaking, that this other person had a good experience and leaving it at that.